there.
Hi, Larry.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Where are we at and who are you?
I'm Susan Anderson, and I'm at the Carpinteria Valley Museum of History.
Very good.
And boy, have we got some history. You want to see?
Let's see.
Come on. This is the first train that came to Carpinteria. In 1887, this train came from Santa Barbara to Carpinteria, all decked out in flowers and flags. It was so exciting that all the schools were closed, and everyone in town was there to greet the train.
Huh, okay.
It was important because, see the display of luggage, trunks and suitcases and valises. The train enabled people to move to Carpinteria. So it signaled an influx of people. Let's see, what catches your eye here? Linden Avenue in 1915. I think this would be where Woolbrandt's welding shop was. And I think these might be the palms. Now, you must have heard of our famous grapevine. Have you?
I have.
Yeah, well, here it is, a picture of it. It's all gone now, but you can see how important it was. Look at those faces. They had town meetings under the grapevine. They had elections under the grapevine. And those people in the picture are all identifiable. They're our town's ancestors. There are some Moores and some Baylards, and I hate to name names because then you might leave somebody out, and I don't like to do that.
Do you know where it was?
It was over on the the west side of town, on the other side of the freeway, somewhere in that.
Near 7-Eleven, huh?
Near 7-Eleven. Old Town. But Old Town got cut off by the freeway and it's over by Aliso. But the grapevine was further back, and it was Mrs. Ayala that planted it.
Okay.
It produced massive amounts of grapes. You can see up in the rafters there. Tons and tons and tons. A source of great pride, the size. And over here is one of my favorite things. It's tar pits. And when I walk on tar pits now, and you see the brick that's there by the lifeguard stand, the little bits of bricks are all that remain of the great ovens that were used to see the workers down there with their shovels? Those shovels are as heavy as can be, and they were warmed in the oven so that they would cut through the asphalt as they were digging it out. Look over here, we have one. One of my favorite things, and I actually can lift it. Whoa. It is, see how strong I am?
And that made our roads, huh?
That paved Carpinteria, Santa Barbara, San Francisco, St. Louis. Wow. It was a huge business. It had two iterations. In the late 1880s, it was huge. We were shipping asphalt everywhere. And then it died down and popped up again in the early 1900s for another little go-round. Tar pits is such an interesting place. Have you ever been to the La Brea tar pits?
Yes.
You know it. In La Brea, the tar was in great pools. So you find the whole animal skeletons, the mastodons and all those ancient creatures. Here in our tar pits, the geology was different, so there weren't pools of tar. The tar was all in layers of rock. And the bones of the creatures were mixed up in the tar and the rock. So we just have pieces. But it's the same cast of characters. Mastodons, what's the cat? The big cougar.
Saber-toothed tiger.
Saber-toothed tiger. Yes. So that's, there's that ancestry, that animal ancestry underneath the asphalt mines and underneath our steps as we go beach walking or surfing. So we've got a little bit here, the homage to the lima bean industry. Lima, same as Lima, Peru. The beans came from South America. And they became a viable agricultural crop. And for a while, they were it here in Capinteria. Main school, where it is now. Oh, no, it's the Children's Project now. That whole area was a lima bean field.
Oh.
Yeah.
And lima beans aren't grown here still, are they?
No. I guess people still eat them. My sister Judy loves them when they're fresh. I don't know where she would get them. Whole Foods, maybe.
Do you know what came after lima beans?
Oh, we've got a whole series of things. Walnuts followed. I'm not sure of the order of things. And maybe when we go in the agricultural displays in the back, it'll be more orderly, but I'll just give it a stab. Lima beans, walnut trees, tomatoes, lemons, avocados, flowers, cannabis. From the lima to the cannabis. All right, let's go to my favorite section, the shumash. Speaking of ancestors on our land, this was Mishnopshno. Mishnopshno. It's the name of the main village here. And this might be a picture of it, a suggestion anyway, of the houses that were made out of the tule weeds. And life was pretty slick for the Chumash. They lived in an abundant universe. The creeks were filled with salmon and other fish. The ocean was filled with big and little sources of food. And everything was sheltered by the oak trees, which provided the acorns, which was their staple. Looky here. These brilliant people figured out how to turn the bitter acorn into a delicious protein source. And it involved baskets and water. They soaked and rinsed and soaked and rinsed the acorns until they softened and all the tannic acid was washed away. And then they could grind it with their beautiful grinding stones and cook little cakes on their cooking rocks and live a happy life with a full tummy.
What is this up here?
This is a copy of some of the Chumash cave painting. The Chumash people, had a most elaborate ritual life, and we don't know what it means. Campbell Grant is one of the main people who climbed up into the mountains and discovered the caves and copied the paintings. And you can see from this small sample how evolved the art is and how full of significance it is. We just don't know what it signifies. Because life was so easy in terms of sustaining it, feeding the people was not a problem, a lot of energy went into the ritual, spiritual aspect of existence. And the other thing they did was play like crazy. They had lots of gambling games, and they had a lot of fun, the Chumash.
What was their boat called?
The Tomol. The Tomol is a beautiful signifier of the aspect of their life that involved travel. They were always on the move. They used the Tomols to go back and forth from the islands. They were always trading, traveling and trading. Each tribe, each little local group had something that they traded for other things. I'm not sure how it went, whether acorns went, here they go in the Tomol across the channel. And they might be taking olivella shells to trade for acorns, or probably vice versa. But trading they were. These olivella shells have been found as far east as Michigan and Minnesota. Our Capinteria olivella shells. So there was a whole network, much like our world today. We humans trade with each other, visit with each other, etc., etc.
I understand our natural tar seepage had something to do with the Tomos. Do you know?
Oh, yes. Good question. Because the Tomol is made from wood, redwood, that would come as driftwood. Big, huge trunks that would be washed from up north where they grow. Santa Cruz, probably. I don't think they grow much south of there. But anyway, they'd get the wood from the shore, and then they'd cut it and plane it and stick it together with the asphalt.
To make it watertight, huh?
To make it watertight. They used the same thing with some of their baskets too, although they were such advanced weavers, they could weave it so that they could weave a basket that was watertight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what they used to weave the baskets?
Tule. The same thing that their houses were made of.
Okay, they also used juncus, apparently.
Juncus and tule are different varieties of the reeds, the natural native plants, native reeds.
Okay.
So this aspect of trading, I remember David Griggs, our former director, talked about Capinteria as a center of trading. The Chumash were big into trading. The Spanish came, and then look what happened. Over here is my favorite thing in the whole museum. This trunk here is made of balsam wood, made in China from Chinese balsam wood, and it's covered with leather that grew in Capinteria. I brought us from the Chumash times into the California period, the Rancho period, the Mexican Rancho period, which is the first half of the 1800s. And the main industry was cattle raising. And so cattle was raised, and cattle was slaughtered, and cattle was skinned, and the hides were shipped to China. And then the boats would come back with silk and spices and tea, and they would come back in a trunk just like this. This is an example of one of those trunks, and this came from the Nidever family.
Nice.
I love it. I just love it. I love history that connects us to who we are now, and who we are now helps us understand who they were then.
Do you know, there's a Nidever Road in town. Do you know if any Nidevers still live in town?
I don't know, but I do know that Jimmy Compost, Dr. Sal S. James Compost, wrote a wonderful story of a lynching in Capinteria. The hanging actually took place near Oak Avenue, where I live. And the story involves some Nidevers. I can't do spoiler report. I can't spoil the thing, but I would highly recommend finding those issues of the Grapevine and find out about those Nidevers.
The Grapevine
is the publication of this museum. It's our regular publication, and it's filled with stories that are quite compelling. And this is Nellie Ayala. She's a descendant of the woman who of the family that planted the oak. Oaks are the Chumash. The giant grapevine.
Was there some story about there's a writing switch put in the ground and it grew into the grapevine? Have you heard that one?
I've never heard that, and I don't believe it for a minute. Okay. The grapevine was given to her, a little slip of it, by someone from somewhere, and I think it was one of the missions. But these stories, we hear them. You've got a switch. That has an appeal, doesn't it? All right, I'm going to put my sweater on this beautiful saddle. And these...
By the way, the date today, do you know?
It's the 28th of November, 2023. Yeah.
And we're in the holiday mood, as everybody can see.
And here's the bedroom. Okay. And this is a wonderful place to start with the Higgins, because there's their house on the wall. And it's, I have friends who grew up in that house.
Really?
Yeah, it was demolished in the 60s. But it was built in the 1800s, and we can find the exact year. But it was built by Mr. Higgins, who was one of the people that came out to Capinteria after the Civil War, looking for opportunity to make a good life. And he settled in Capinteria, and he tried farming. He didn't have much luck with that. He became a businessman. And he started the very first lemon packing house in Capinteria. This 3-story house was a splendid house, and when it was demolished, why it was demolished first, it became a hazard. Standard Oil had bought that property, and the house was vacant, and it was just subject to vandalism and shenanigans. and the museum group was forming and trying to make a museum, but they didn't have money enough to buy the house. So the house was demolished. But so much of it is in this museum. All this furniture, the beautiful wheelchair over here. Look at that. The fabulous toilet. Excuse me, dear.
Wow.
Isn't that a fancy chamber pot? Thank you. The children's furniture, the wood of the beams, the office, the desk in the office, the wood holding that up are doors from this house. Every bit of the house that we could use was used in the creation of the museum. The doors into the library way down at the end there.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
glass door.
Oh, it's opening, and there's Jamie. Hi, Jamie. And around the corner here is Mr. Higgins' office. He had a big, heavy safe to keep all his money safe. And he had these fabulous machines, office machines. Look at this. It's called the Ediphone. It's one of the very first dictaphones. You would speak into this. This would get connected there, and you dictate what you want, and it would type your message for you. What do you know? And look how old this is. He had some encyclopedias and lots of ledgers, had a telephone. And here's my favorite thing of Mr. Higgins. He went walking from his house over there, and he walked on the beach, and he walked on the cliffs, the bluffs, as we call them here, and he found all these arrowheads and Indian beads and shells.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, where were we?
Well, we were in Mr. Higgins' office. So on our left is his office. A lovely reminder of days gone by, no? Mm-hmm. And then over here to our right is a very special exhibit, lest we forget. It's memories of World War I and how it affected Capinteria. Lists of names and pictures of the people who lost their lives, souvenirs. Souvenirs, do you call it that when it's war stuff? Oh, look, a German canteen, all wrecked, holding no water. Swords, barbed wire, eating utensils. Tree lores, Hebels. A list of the death statistics. I can't even go into it. The numbers are so huge. And it goes on and on. This was the war to end all wars.
World War I, huh?
World War I, the war to end all wars.
Okay, Susan, let's continue.
Here we have a wonderful collection of old, obsolete, unused signs, but they evoke some of the most interesting businesses and places in Capinteria. We used to have the city of Capinteria, which, you know, was formed in 1965. The city office was at 601 Maple. the elevation of Capinteria used to be 6,651.
You mean the elevation was 7 feet,
Yes, did I say elevation?
but the population?
Yeah, I meant population.
Okay.
I'm getting my categories mixed up.
Okay.
So I think our elevation is probably the same, but the population isn't.
Maybe with global warming, in a while, we'll become 6 feet or 5 feet.
Yeah, maybe. The Valley Barber business still exists, but in a very new iteration. This is, these are the barbers, and here they are in action. Zip and Eddie, I don't know. Oh, I should know their names. Every boy in town practically had his hair cut at Valley Barbers, and all the men. Mills Drugs. Now it's a corner. It's a little sort of a mini park, isn't it?
Yeah, Capinteria Avenue and Linden Avenue.
Exactly.
Oh, what was this?
And that was a scene inside the drugstore. It doesn't show the soda fountain, but there was a soda fountain in Mills Drugs.
You got some good stuff?
I got some good stuff.
By the way, when did you move to Capinteria?
I came to Capinteria in March of 1950.
From?
From England, from Caversham, England to Capinteria, California, on the Queen Mary.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was your aunt already here?
Yes.
Who was your aunt?
My aunt was Judith Anderson. In January of 1960, she became Dame Judith Anderson. She came and bought a ranch out on the 150 and imported us, my parents and my siblings and I, to be family. She didn't have children of her own. And what an amazing thing to happen.
Nice.
Yeah, we're lucky ducks.
Reg's Tackle Shop, vape, soft drinks, candies.
Yeah.
Oh, that building's still here, isn't it?
That building is still here. And Reg was a hero for so many children. The pier is not here. You know, this shop is now just all painted white with no signs on it. It's a relic of the past, still standing. On Palm Avenue, if you went straight down to Palm and then went left across the bridge where the train crosses and the traffic crosses, then to your right would be a pier, the Capinteria Pier. And it was a tackle shop, bait and tackle shop. So all the fishermen that came to fish off the pier or offshore, a lot of the campers did a lot of fishing. He was the guy. He had all this stuff. And every kid in town could go and get candy. After school, he was practically kitty corner from main school. You could go and get treats.
I understand he had a secret handshake with the kids.
Oh.
Greg Carty told me that once.
Greg knows all the secrets. He was an artist. And if you step back a little bit, I'll show you some of his art.
Oh,
Here's a picture of, now did he do, I know that he did this, the Torrey Pine.
Which is still here?
Which is still here. We have two Torrey Pines, you know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We have the famous one that's right by Lucky Llama,
Right.
across from the library. And then down Walnut to where Rennell lives, right behind Rennell's house is another big Torrey pine.
Well, what is that image of there?
This is the Thunderbowl.
Where was that?
That was up on it's the end of the Bluffs. It's Bluffs 3, maybe, is its official title, because it's part of our Bluffs preservation land that's preserved. It's right at the end. You would go down Carpinteria Avenue until it stops.
So it was a racetrack there, huh?
It was a racetrack, yeah. Hot rods and other sorts of things. I'm trying to see who did this painting. It's not Reg,
Okay.
but it's a wonderful painting, isn't it?
Yes.
And here is some more art. This is maybe considered craft because it's quilting, but the ladies of Carpinteria produced this exquisite quilt to celebrate the existence of our museum. And there's the museum, front and center, and around it are all these different mini quilts that celebrate different aspects of Carpinteria. Here's the old Baptist church on the corner of Walnut and 8th, just out the door here.
The seal preserved.
The seals. The Fish Seed, Henry Fish Seed Company, which is now the Palm Lofts. The old yellow house where the Franklin kids grew up in the 50s. An old school, I think this one was Aliso School, not our present day Aliso, but an old Aliso school. And the avocado, the pumpkin, the oil derrick, flowers.
Did you mention flowers as one of the crops? I think you did.
I did. I hope I did. I hope I did. The grapevine, look at that beautiful thing. See, craft is certainly art, isn't it? The monarch butterflies that we have, the beech, the egret, the fruit trees, or is that an oak tree? The tomall, the beautiful, beautiful beech, the lemon groves, the lemon groves with the wind to stop them from frosting, and the palms, may she rest in peace. No, may she regenerate into something new and wonderful. Yeah. I love this about our museum. Here we have a historic relic, an old sewing machine that was actually used to sew clothes, and probably could be still, because these work better than anything. In the dollhouse, we have a miniature sewing machine. And in the front, we didn't look at the toy exhibit, but in the toy exhibit, we have a sewing machine. So we have big, middle size, and baby size sewing machines. And there are several other items that are repeated in our displays. You want to know about this?
Yes.
This dollhouse was a project in a high school woodshop class.
Really?
I believe in the 1930s. I'm not positive about the date, but we could find that out. It was a certain kind of teaching that believed hands-on. So you would learn life skills If you made this, the students that made this house in that class learned every technique you'd need to know to build a real house.
That's cool.
And so then it sort of fell into, well, it was in the closet. No one was playing with it, no one was using it. And it got discovered when we moved maybe into this building, or I know where it was. There used to be a kindergarten at Main School, and it was in a closet there. I think it had gone from the high school to the kindergarten. They'd used it and then put it away. The girls' club and the ladies of the museum got together and refurbished the whole thing, and here you have it. And that happened in the 90s.
Oh.
Mrs. Goodfield was one of the women that was involved in that project. And I had the pleasure of showing her granddaughter this house. Her great-granddaughter.
Oh.
Her great-granddaughter. Oh, the generations go by so quickly. Now then, we are in Agricultural Row. These saddles are relics from the California period when cattle raising was the main thing, main industry.
Who were the people here then? Were the Californios? Or?
California was Mexico. So there were Mexicans, there were Chumash,
Were there Spanish?
there were Spanish. Well, I don't know, Spanish, Mexican. I think, well, at a time there was, because the Spaniards made colonies, you know, they had a presidio and they had a this, that, and the other, missions and presidios.
But it's good to know that our history here was Mexicans.
Yes, it's very important to know that. Very important. And here is a whole stack of lima beans. And this picture is from some Baylord property back towards the hills. This is Henry Brown, who is a descendant of the Fish family from that packing house people. The Fish family started the first campground at the beach. And
Ralph Brown and his wife Betty Brown, who's still around, is part of that family.
part of that family. Henry is the brother of Ralph. And Henry and Rosemary were neighbors of ours when we landed in Carpinteria. And Henry took my father on a horseback ride as a welcoming to America, or welcoming to Carpinteria.
Let's see, so he's reading the Carpinteria Valley News.
Yeah.
Did you recall that paper?
I know the paper that this is previous to what I recall. I recall the Carpinteria Herald. And I have to admit, I still refer to the Coastal View as the Herald.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. When I was in high school, it was the Carpinteria Herald. And we had a journalism class, and we went to the Herald. Its offices were right where the art museum is now. And we went in and looked at all the desks and people doing stuff, and the printing. They did their own printing. Days gone by. This is an old cider press. You put the apples in there, and out you get buckets, tubs. What are these called? Kegs. Kegs of apple juice.
How would you know about kegs? I'm kidding you.
the water pump, and the kitchen. Now we're really moving ahead in time. We've got a refrigerator.
How would it stay cold?
You'd put a big block of ice in there. Look over at the window. There's your ice sign. If you need ice, you switch that round so that the iceman sees you need him. And then he comes and delivers a block. And you put it in there, close the door to keep it cold. And there you are. You can put your milk and your butter and your other perishables in there, and they'll be fresh as a daisy. Speaking of butter, look at this. I think this might be the Cadillac of butter churns. You know, you put the milk in there, the whole milk, and then you go boom, 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 and then it turns into butter.
There was a dairy in town, wasn't there?
Oh, come, yes.
Was it in your time?
It was in my time. Oh my gosh. We loved the Monte Vista Dairy. They delivered milk, even way out, all the way 3 miles out to Rancho Verde where we lived. Now this is the site of the dairy. This is the dairy.
Is this near St. Joseph's Church?
It's opposite St. Joseph's Church. It's where the Mormon church is.
Oh, uh-huh.
And the cows were there. See, the high school would be down there now, somewhere. But there were cows, and they got milked every day, and their milk got put into these bottles, and the bottles got delivered, and the milk had, you know, it was milk up to here, and then this was cream. And there was a little rubber spatula-like thing. You slipped it in and then pulled the lever, and it separated, and you poured off the cream, and you whipped it up, and you had whipped cream, or you just poured it on what, you know, oh, it was lovely. And that's what you would make butter out of if you were, but we didn't do that. We ate margarine. It was healthy. Yeah, oh, I'm so glad you remembered the Monte Vista Dairy. The Silvestrans were one half of the people that owned that, and they came from Italy from the same town where the Panasons came from. Oh, our famous Panasons, Marty and Louie. This is Mrs. Woolbrandt's doll collection.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And she is?
She was the mother of our first mayor, Ernie Woolbrandt.
No, wasn't she married to Ernie?
No,
oh, okay.
Mary is married to Ernie.
Oh, okay.
And Ernie and Mary are the parents of John Woolbrandt and some other siblings. But I'm just thinking of John now because of his fabulous gifts to our community, the beautiful murals, and his activism.
Wonderful doll collection.
So this is his grandmother. These are her doll collection. And there are more down in the living room where we were, so we'll see those. And maybe even in the toy collection.
Okay.
So we have a lovely little schoolroom down here. But we didn't finish with the kitchen. We talked about the ice box and the butter churn, but my other favorite is the wood stove and that lovely copper pan that sits on top of the stove, and you keep it full of water so that you always have hot water. It's not like we have, you just turn on the tap, but at least it's there, and you open the spigot and you've got some. You can wash your dishes, you can wash your hands and face.
Okay.
All right. This is an ode to our walnut days. 1920, this is a walnut huller. You know, you get a walnut off the tree, it looks like this. You get it from the store, it looks like this. This machine does that. And it does it with these really strong bristles, you know. They're just tough and they just scrape those hulls off. But without this machine, that's a very difficult process.
So this was on the outside, and then this is what was revealed, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So this one needs the treatment.
I wonder if there are any walnut trees in Capinteria still. You're not aware of any.
You know, I'm not.
Okay.
And it's funny because I know, like if you're in Northridge, Northridge used to have acres and acres of walnuts. And now they have acres and acres of houses, but there are walnut trees interspersed. So I don't know any in Capinteria.
Maybe we'll need to plant some to remember our old walnut crops.
There's an idea. There's an idea. I know that where our present day high school is was a walnut orchard.
Oh, huh.
Yeah. So this is Mr. Hales, Orrin Hale. And he's here because he had this fabulous collection of tools. You know, horses did everything for a long time in Capinteria's history. Transportation, labor, you know, farm labor, everything you needed the horse. Going to school, kids would ride to school. And they need, you know, they have to be shod. This has to be put into their foot, and you have to have the tools to pull them out and put them in. And
were people still riding horses when you came here in 50, was it?
well, I just told you Henry Brown was, but that was more a recreational thing. No, it was quite mechanized in the 50s. Yeah. So lots of tools for all the work that was done. And I'm not doing it justice because this is really a rich collection. But let's step across here and look at school. When the little boys and girls went to school on their horses, they couldn't wait for recess and lunchtime because they had to go out and give their horses water and maybe an apple or something. So this is Rebecca. She's the daughter of Henry Brown. Oh wait, no, this is Emily. Emily is the daughter of Henry. See, it's the generational slippage again. And this is Rebecca, who's the daughter of Emily.
Emily Miles?
Emily Miles. Emily and Bradley Miles had this beautiful little girl, and she went to school, but when she went to school, it wasn't like this. When she went to school, she was in my high school English class.
You were a famous English teacher.
Famous. Rebecca wrote beautiful poetry. Lincoln is on the wall as the president. Everybody brought their lunch. Everything was done in chalk on the boards. The students had little boards. The teacher had the big board, where she demonstrated beautiful cursive.
Is cursive not taught still?
Cursive is coming back in some places because we're missing it drastically. There's something wonderful about the mind, the brain, the combination between eye-hand coordination but the brain-hand coordination. It's good for us to learn to write like that. I love this. This is a testament to Capinteria's love of education. These are all the little schoolhouses that existed in like the turn of the century, the 1800s. This is the Aliso school I was thinking that the quilt was, but I'm wrong, because I'll tell you what that one is. It's a different school. We'll go back on our way and I'll correct myself.
Well, there's the Summerland School.
Yeah. Every little neighborhood, wherever there were the most farms or people, there was a school, so that the horseback ride wasn't too long. Summerland has such an interesting history. Look at it here, it's the combination of oil and spirituality. They were spiritualists. And when I say they, I'm talking about the people who founded and populated Summerland. H.G. Williams, is that his name? H.J. Williams. Harry Williams. In 1883, he bought the Ortega Ranch, which was mostly the land of Summerland. And he was a spiritualist, which was a religion school of thought that was sweeping the country. And it involved communicating with the people who have passed over. When you pass over, you're in Summerland. That's where you go when you first die. And then you go other places maybe, or maybe you just hang around. And that's who the spiritualists would talk to. And there would be seances, and there would be just all sorts of things. I'm going to read this because it's good. Spiritualists believe that a sixth sense develops in certain individuals, which enables them to communicate with the spirits of the dead without the necessity of physical presence. So that, in a nutshell, is one aspect of life in Summerland. It was communicating with those who've passed over. At the same time, there's this natural gas bubbling up out of the earth. They played baseball to the light. They'd light this gas and it would light up evening baseball games.
In Summerland.
In Summerland. And connected with the gas is the oil. And this is, it's the beginning of the petrochemical nightmare that we're dealing with now, the climate change, right? It's all from, well, this is Summerland Beach there's a date somewhere. Well, it's the turn of the century.
These are the first offshore oil wells in North America, I believe.
Yeah, this is the birth of the oil industry. And the same man is in both. He's come, he believes ardently in spiritualism, and he sets out a whole, there's somewhere a picture of the plan of the city, and there are little lots for tents, so that people can come from all over and spend the lovely warm months of the year and commune with each other and commune with the spirits, and everything would be lovely.
It sounds a little like Day of the Dead, communing with the spirits.
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, we have this, death is in our lives. And how do we relate to it? And Day of the Dead is a beautiful cultural way to connect. And what they had in Summerland was a beautiful way to connect. And with the spiritualism was also this commercialism of this brand new industry. So, very intriguing, very intriguing. And here we're back to the beautiful toe mall. This is a recording, a photographic recording of the making of a toe mall.
And here's a recreation of a piece of it.
Yes, it is.
A redwood
With
planks.
our lovely Christmas decorations. Yeah. And this is another favorite thing here. This is
that?
shark skin
Oh,
or sandpaper for
Oh.
the making of the toe
how
malls.
do you know?
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on?
Yes, we shall. So transportation, we've got the, what year is this? This is a 1928 Model A. Donated by the Browns, donated by Jonathan Brown. And it drove itself in here, I believe. Or, I mean, it was driven in here. And so that's, you know, that's 28. This is 18 something or other. A much rockier ride. But adorable nonetheless. Very Christmassy. Interesting butterfly things. You know, we're hearing now that but the numbers of monarchs are increasing again. So that's good news. Very good news.
Do you know where one sees the monarch butterflies here in town? I think along Carp Creek.
Carp Creek, coming up from the beach, or going on 6th Street to where the parent-child workshop is. It's across the creek from there. So mind out for the poison oak.
Oh, okay. What time of year do the monarchs come?
Springtime, springtime. Yeah, I remember seeing great clumps of them. There used to be a eucalyptus grove on Ladera Lane, Pacifica Institute, and then the man that built the house there at the end have pretty much demolished those groves. But if you go out to Elwood and Goleta, there's good butterfly viewing. Okay, so here's Mr. Higgins' bedroom, and here's his parlor, his living room. And this is a wind-up record player that actually works.
Nice.
When the turtle doves aren't nesting on top of it. This melodeon was carried about from party to party. The man who, Orrin Cadwell brought it from New York, and it's said that he carried it to wherever the party was and played so people could sing and dance, isn't it? Yeah. And here's some more of Mrs. Wolbrandt's doll collection.
This fireplace is from the Higgins house?
Yes. Isn't that the mantle is?
Great.
Yeah. And the dolls that I didn't show you on our way in. There they are. Lincoln logs, the toy sewing machine, tea set.
Go ahead.
Well, that's the brief tour of the Capinteria Valley Museum of History. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you will come onto Walnut Avenue and visit us at your own pace and see all of these treasures for yourself.
And you are?
And I'm Susan Anderson, and you are?
And it's Larry Nimmer behind the camera.
All right, thanks, Larry.